Hello and welcome. Another edition of Coach's Corner, where every week we talk with college coaches from across the country, all levels, all divisions. In the past, we've talked to NCAA Division One, we've talked to JUCO's Division One and Two, NAIA's Division One and Two, a little bit of NCAA Division Three, and today we're very fortunate to talk NCAA Division Two. Family friend, head coach at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, Coach Steve Kline. Steve, I really thank you so much for spending some time with us here today.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, Walter. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it and love getting it out there. Division Two, it's no joke. They can really play some baseball here.
Well, I mean, if all you have to do is take one look at last year's World Series roster, and you had a couple of Division II participants, one of which is in your backyard, Millersville, for the Astros. And, I really, in today's world of the portal, I really would love for you to kind of tell people a little bit about IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, as well as the Division II caliber of baseball in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, we're in the PSAC, they call it, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. Got some really good teams. You got Millersville, Westchester, Kutztown, East Stroudsburg, Seton Hill, Mercyhurst. There's some Gannon. We got some powerhouse teams over here, and every year I think one of our teams makes it. I think Millersville was the number one team going into the World Series last year. And they're a very good team, very put well together. It's just a great battle. I mean, there's like 16 teams. I know Division II is bigger up here in Pennsylvania. I think there's only a couple D1 schools in Pennsylvania, but most of our conference, a little bit into West Virginia and down through North Carolina is where we play most of our competition. But love it. It's great competition. We got some guys that can just flat out play. Like you said, they just all think they're all D1 kids, and then once they realize they go there for a year, sit, get back in the portal, and then they end up coming down. It just, if I had any advice for the kids, I just tell them go somewhere where you can play. As fast as you got JUCO, Division III, Division II, they'll find you. The scouts will find you. You just have to trust in your ability and go for whatever degree you're looking to get into, and that's the most important thing going to a college. You should pick for degrees, and then what sport you kind of think you can have a chance of aspiring and doing really well on.
Well, one of the things you just touched on there, as far as scouts will find you, in today's world of social media, as well as contacts, friendships, relationships, first and foremost, Coach Kline is an 11-year big leaguer. We're talking Indians, Expos, Cardinals during 2004, Red Sox year, near and dear to my heart. We also have, Indians and obviously the San Francisco Giants. Also spent probably about, almost 15 years as a coach in the minor leagues?
Yes, sir.
So we're talking somebody that knows baseball talent. So on that note, do most of your student athletes come from the greater Pennsylvania, West Virginia area, or do you go outside that area and recruit the best available athlete?
I go all over. I mean, I got some Florida kids. I got some kids from Puerto Rico. I've got last year I had kids from Chicago to a lot of Ohio, a lot of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area, middle of the state of Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey, Maryland, Virginia. I go wherever. I got a lot of connections with scouts that help. They call me and say, "Hey, I got a kid for you." They always put a good path for me to find some kids. And like relationships you made in the past with people, like guys go, "Hey, I want, can you?" I actually have a catcher from Florida that his dad played at first base at West Virginia with me, and he played for the Blue Jays in the minor leagues a little bit, and we were roommates and stuff. And now his son's up here playing for me, and it's the kid's a great little catcher, and he kind of grew up in the West Virginia coal mine area, and so he's got that little toughness. We like that little grit that we got up here, and it's not the old Pittsburgh of the steel mill stuff. It's a little bit more financial district now, but you still find some of those kids that have some grit and some toughness.
Now, do you find, if we look at Major League Draft and we see a lot of these college student athletes now, do you feel like because of the restrictions of the draft, as well as the kind of reduction of minor league teams, that more student athletes are not only playing college baseball, but they're looking for opportunities, of which the NCAA Division II level is an extremely talented group of college baseball players. University of Tampa, we talked to Southern New Hampshire. Do you feel more high school athletes are looking for that Division II as far as with regard to playing time and coaching?
Yeah, I think like you said, the D1 schools are now, this whole portal thing is where, like Deion Sanders said it best. He goes, I think he has 5 recruits coming in next year that are all freshmen. Other than that, everybody else he's going to get off the portal. And that's the way the Division I baseball is going right now. If you're pitching at LSU or like your son at Vanderbilt, and you're like, hey, I got another year, you're going to go choose another school, or like Notre Dame or Stanford or wherever you think you can go and help out. And they already know what you can do at a D1 school. Like, you already proven for 2 years. That's what the portal does. It's like, hey, I got a kid, show me what he can do, and he's known. And then all of a sudden you get the other guys that, the freshmen, they go, oh, I'm going to be here, and then they just get stuck, and then you just stuns your growth. And I think, sometimes that's why I say JUCO, and JUCO's a great way. I went JUCO because I knew I could get drafted every year. And then, plus I knew if I didn't play right away, I'd probably go off and end up, drinking or having too much fun at college and being, a buffoon or something. So I thought that kept me in line. And then, it worked out. I got drafted a couple of times. So I think kids need to realize, like, it's not an insult to go to Division II or Division III or NAIA or JUCO. I mean, they're like I said, these scouts are finding. We're finding kids in the pro side from down in the Venezuela, Dominican, China. They'll find you here in the States. So it's, don't get pressured into hurry up and signing because, you have to go here. And then all of a sudden I would do your diligence. A lot of kids need to learn how to go and find out who's coming in. Like, hopefully the coaches are honest and they tell you, hey, we bring in 50 guys. You're going to be one of the 40 pitchers coming in, or, you're the fourth catcher we recruited, and we got 2 other guys transferring it. Like, you hope they tell you a little bit. I would tell every college kid to do their diligence and ask people, hey, where do you see me? Do you think I fit in your program, or how many guys you bringing in? Are you bringing seniors? How many seniors are on the team? Like, you still have to do your homework too, but don't be naive and think that, you're walking into a place where you're the king cobra. You got to go in there ready to play and show the coaches what you can do.
One of the things about college baseball that I think catches student athletes and then subsequently their parents off guard, it is not an extension of high school baseball or even travel baseball. Competition is not a word, it's a life. And there's no such thing as being promised a spot, a starting slot, whether it's college baseball, professional baseball. Ultimately, at that level, the funnel is very small. The talent margins are thinner, and you have to bring your mental A game every single day to be able to go out there and compete. Can you talk a little bit about being competitive on a more regular basis when you get to college? It's not like you're playing 2 games a week. You're playing a lot of baseball over a period of 4 or 5 months. And if you're going to go from college to pro ball, the mental game and the competitive edge that you have to have needs to be razor sharp.
Yeah, you're not lying. This competitive spirit, we lack it. I think kids today in this world, where if they beat you in a race, if back in our day, if we would have ran a race, I would try to beat you so bad that you wouldn't ever want to do it again against me. Nowadays, when you beat a kid, you turn around and you ask them, well, how could I help you get better? Or, hang in with me, instead of like, I wanted that kid never want to play against me again, or face me in the batter's box, or wrestle against you, or, like play football. You wanted to hit them as hard as you could. And, like today's world, the kids are a little bit more, nice. I don't want to say there's some mean kids out there. Don't get me wrong. I just think kids are too nice. But to be competitive, you got to come every day locked in. You got to say, you know what, I'm here to be a student athlete. First of all, you have to be mentally tough because you're gonna miss a lot of classes. You got to be able to have a good a funnel of programs at home where you can handle 3 or 4 things thrown at you in one day. It's like, okay, I got to get up early in the morning and practice. Maybe I got to do my early work, then go to the class. I might hit in between class and then go to the field and practice with the team. Up here in the Northeast, it might be freezing cold rain, so you might have to go and hit at 9 o'clock at night in the gym when you can get it. So there's a lot of X factors that kind of put a little roadblock. And for me as a coach, I love watching it because then I can really get evaluations of my players. I can say, okay, this kid's got the attitude that you want. And some kids, you're just like, okay, I made a mistake on recruiting this kid because he's kind of excuses and, makes up, stories and just, like once you start throwing excuses at me, I'm just like, man, this is not good. So.
Yeah, I used to have a saying when my kids were, when I was coaching back in the day, losers make excuses, all about me. Winners execute. Don't tell me how you're going to do it. Don't tell me why you want to do it. Execute. Nobody's going to ask you how. They're just going to ask you how many. So when it comes to your forte, which is pitching, do you think as a generation that we're overly consumed with metrics, analytics, spin rates, and velocity as opposed to collecting outs and throwing strikes?
Yeah, I just don't think kids play enough baseball in different positions. I think they say I'm a pitcher only, or you need to play every position you can. I just think when you're like Russell Wilson, when you talk to him as a quarterback, when he played in the minor leagues here with the Rockies, when we put him in Asheville, he told me, he goes, he went out, and when you watch him on the field, he played everybody's position. He went and played the right tackle to the wide receiver, and he ran their routes. He knew where everybody was going to be at every time. Pitchers, sometimes we just go over a pitcher only. Well, we don't understand how hard it is to hit because they never hit. And then you're like, you need to get in that box and see the other side of it.
Steve, you talk about being a position player, and this is a topic that's really near and dear to my heart because I think, for instance, with regard to Tyler was a multi-sport athlete. He played football, he was a basketball guy, hockey guy, and a baseball guy. And he never was a pitcher only. He played short, right field, first base. So he always knew what it felt like, looked like, even as a catcher, and so can you talk to that just a little bit as far as when you, let's say 14 years old, you're hitting junior high school, too young to be thinking about becoming a pitcher only. You really want to maintain that athleticism, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I think the more you play, the more knowledge you get about every position, the more about hitting. You learn everything. Like, I can really break down a hitter. Sometimes fixing the swing is a little difficult for me. That's why you get good hitting coaches. But like for pitching, like for me, like as a pitcher, I can see what it was like to hit and how tough. I mean, it's how tough it is. Like how guys hit the ball when they throw it to you. Some guys you can see the ball longer, what the plane of the ball was. So you understand when as a pitcher, you're like, well, maybe if I hide the ball a little bit, get more angle in the ball, have a little bit more of a deceptive spin. If I could throw my fastball, my changeup, and my breaking ball all the kind of same spin, that's really tough. That's what Pedro Martinez was all about right there. He had that unbelievable stuff. He had all the spin. So that's why I think it's so important for high school kids to play everything you can. And then, like you said, other sports. I think you should play every sport. I think Brian Sabian, the old GM of the Giants, said that he saw Derek Jeter play more basketball than he did baseball, just from being from Michigan. So, you get to see I see another leadership quality from you in a different sport. I see how you handle your teammates because you're going to fail a lot in baseball. And sometimes I might come see you and you go 0 for 3 in a high school game. And I just come to see how you run on and off the field, to see how you interact with your teammates. The playing's there. I'm looking at you because I know you can already play. It's just the fact that I just want to see how you are as a teammate and a person. How you handle your mom. Is your mom bringing you Gatorade all the time? Or are you carrying your own bags to the ballpark? Are you screaming at people? Like, I was very not the same person. I was a real hothead probably back in my day. I wanted to win every freaking game, and I'd fight you to the death. But now, the older I got, the more I kind of relaxed and said, you know what, these coaches were trying to show me something, and I realized it. And then, it's these kids. Hopefully, they realize a little bit earlier now than I was just fortunate. I had a good arm, and it kept me going around because they'll put up with you if you can pitch a little bit. But now, if you're in that little bubble, you better be that upstanding adult and student. Your grades. I mean, like you said, if you're on the cusp line of failing, it's hard for us to recruit you because you're like, if I'm going to invest in you, you're going to be able to make the team and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff you should have to do as a kid just to play this sport. And it's a privilege to play this sport. It's an honor. It shouldn't be just like an everyday occurrence. You should be, take some pride in it.
It's definitely a sport where the best of the best play when you get to college. And I think a lot of parents think it's an automatic rite of passage to go from high school to college. And it's just not that way. It's not that way, not only in college, but if you're doing it for a living. And one of the questions that I want to hear your thoughts on is I get asked all the time about weighted balls, arm care, velocity programs. I always have told parents, be less of a robot, throw a football, throw a softball, play catch with a baseball. How do you feel, or do you feel there's any significant benefit from being a 14 to 18-year-old kid doing weighted balls or trying to, throw 1,000 miles an hour while you get a running head start? Is that how you guys train at IUP, or is this something that, you kind of have a specific plan that you might have done when you were a student athlete?
Yeah, unfortunately, I stayed healthy my whole life. So, I'm not in the best shape guy, I mean, if round was a shape, I'd be the one. But
you and me both.
Like I said, I really believe Tom House, throwing the football. Leo Mazzoni was a big football guy. Just running, getting in shape, sit up, score, throwing the heavy ball. People don't realize they don't announce all the guys that get hurt in the minor leagues that do that. They only show you the one or two guys that made it to the big leagues. Oh, he worked on his head. Yeah, he's 27 years old. He's a grown adult. I'm 14, 18. You're still developing. You're not even. It's not like these kids are working on the fields anymore, like the farm fields and stuff like that. Like some of those guys in the 60s and probably 50s and 40s. These kids nowadays are a little bit more pampered. They don't have, they're on their computers. They see all the stuff that guys do at these gyms, and I'm going to throw. And some people recruit by it. I mean, there's some teams that are like look at the Yankees, man. They just screwed their whole program up by just worrying about velo and if you strike out. No, you better make contact. You better no. The scoreboard would dictate how you play the baseball game, and we all got away from it. We went to these numbers, and we got people who just hated people who played sports, and they're into that game now. It's so political. You know how it goes, Mr. Beede. It's a lot of political crap everywhere you're at. And for me, just throwing the normal ball, I'm just really trying to get good at it. Like Zach Greinke said, just try to make it as boring as possible. How many times can I throw a ball in the same place in a row? Velo gets you drafted, pitching gets you to the big leagues. And I think if people realize that, I know everybody wants to throw 100, but I mean, if you look around, I think the guns are a little juiced up on some people. I think they're getting it out of the hand now. They're not getting it when it crosses the plate anymore. So, I think that's where the big jump came for the last, generation of kids throwing. It went from my years where guys were throwing 91, 92, and it was, and you had that 96 guy who was throwing legit 96 because you could hear the fizzle on Billy Wagner's fastball, and some guys like that. And then you go, to nowadays where everybody's throwing 100, and I'm like, is it really 100 or is it really just 96 because they're getting it out of the hand now? Because Nolan Ryan would be throwing 120, So, for me, weighted balls, if you do them, you better do them correctly. You better. I just think you throw the same. You don't throw that ball in the game. You should throw it, just to get loose. If you have one in your hand, you shake it around. I'm fine with that kind of stuff. I'm not big on throwing it. Some kids do it on my team, and I said that's your MO. If you like to do it, I'm okay in it. I'm cultured in it, so I can tell you a little bit about it. But I had 2 kids so far that came here, and both kids did this at these high velo camps, and they both are hurt. So I just try to explain to them, I'm like, your body's not built yet. You're not. If you're a mature 18-year-old that's 6'4" and 250, compared to a scrawny little 6'4", 165-pound kid with wiry, your body, you develop different. I think it works for Willie Mays, and look at those guys back in the day that threw forever. They never got hurt. They just played baseball and they threw a lot. An old coach used to say it'll rust off before it falls off. So you just got to throw. I think you got to throw the baseball, and the more you throw the baseball, the better you get at it. We throw in the bullpen, and then we don't see the mound for another 5 days. You should throw almost every day off the mound a little bit. And you don't have to gun it 100 miles per hour. You just got to learn how to feel your body, how to get out in front with your mechanics, and let your arm do like 85% of the work with it. And like guys just. They have to be max effort, everything they do. Like every swing nowadays that you watch in batting practice for our kids, as they just go get their gangster hacking from the beginning. I'm like, can we not feel our bat and barrel and get through it and just get our timing and our rhythm going? And then you build into like by the end, you're starting to hit a little bit harder. But these kids go from these showcase swings to reality. And I think it's a little different for them.
Well, I am so glad that just this little segment alone, I used to tell kids trying to get up there and take donkey hacks and, swinging from Guam, I used to call it when I was a kid, in a showcase. Okay, that might be okay because the guy's throwing BP at you and you want to take a couple gorilla hacks, go right ahead. But when a guy's out on the mound and he's got 3 or 4 decent pitches, he's going to eat you alive. You have to learn ball strike, and I just think we have what I call too many gadgets and gimmicks that kind of give you this perception that this is going to instantly make you an elite athlete. In baseball, boy, it's humbling. You bring up Billy Wagner. A friend of mine coached at St. Leo's and was down the Cape with him. And I caught Billy Wagner. He was a sophomore, I think, Ferrum, Division III school. And, I go down the bullpen, and there's this little lefty. I don't know anything about Ferrum. And I'm telling you, I've caught a lot of guys. My roommate was a kid by the name of Vance Lovelace, and he could throw it. And he was a big, tall lefty. Well, in comes Billy Wagner. I don't even have any gear on, and I'm thinking this kid's going to come at me with some 80, some kind of easy cheese. And boom, that thing is. I didn't need a gun to tell me this guy was throwing some heat. So I just think it's good for parents to hear from an 11-year major league veteran as a pitcher and then a 15-year, professional coach. There is no magic potion. There are no magic gadgets that are going to get you from A to Z in baseball. You got to play it. It's a craft sport that requires feel, both physically and mentally. And sometimes we get lost without either. We have to have feel to play baseball. So Steve, I want to a lot of parents want to know, and maybe you can end on this. How do you like to be contacted? Do you like the random email with the video? Do you like a high school coach to reach out to you? How are parents or student athletes going to find their way to get your attention, so to speak, at IUP?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to do a lot of those like PBR events or whatever, like where they run, throw. I can go watch that and I just watch how your body moves. And I'm like, okay, I kind of like this kid. It goes by your position, like every year you need something different. You're trying to get little pieces of the puzzle. And I like people who just send me stuff. They send me like who they are and like, hey, camps. I think getting eyes on people are great. It's kind of a money grab for a lot of the colleges. They rob people with camps. I really don't. I try to do like one camp a year. And I've so people know I've taken 2 kids almost every year off my camps, just because I'm like, wow, I like you just see it. The kid might be a late bloomer, he's in between like us and Youngstown State, and he's like, maybe I won't be able to play right away in Youngstown, but you might be able to come here and play. You just have to be kind of and then the campus will sell itself. I think if you come and you're looking to be a good teacher or a good police officer or business, we got 3 good programs right there, and like sports science too as well. I just think you have to pick your school there with that. But for me, for parents reaching out, like the kid needs to reach out. The kid needs to do his legwork. They can't just have mommy and daddy. The college coaches, like I said, a lot of the high school coaches will call me. I love high school coaches. I'm not a real big travel guy. No offense to anybody. I just think travel. I think it's they promise way too much stuff sometimes. And I think kids they're all told they're going to go D1. Every coach that coaches a travel league is like, oh, I'll get your kid to D1. And then they end up pushing them to like a smaller D1 school that, when they only play for their conference where they could get the same kind of notoriety as at a D2, D3, or JUCO, because everybody thinks D1 they did their job. That's why they're justified to get paid. I think you should really, it's like there's travel baseball. I don't like to hear from the guy who coaches a kid a lot, or like a hitting coach or a pitching coach. I like to hear from their high school coach because I want to find out what kind of student they are. But to get the ball rolling, however they get contacted, you can email me, you can send me videos, you can do all this stuff. I'll watch, some things, you can tell some things right away, but you can't tell you can't see the other guy pitching when you're hitting sometimes. You don't know the velo of the guy, so you can get fooled. And I've been around a long time, but I still get fooled by guys. I just want to see how you are, like you said, as a person. I like to see you play other sports too. Like I'd come and watch guys wrestle and play basketball and football at their games more than, I'm still that kind of old school scout that did all that stuff. Brian Sabian taught me very well how to do all that stuff. So I look for like different things than just your RPMs and your velo. I don't care. Everybody always puts out an 83 to 85 and topped out at 89. I'm like, well, where the hell's that at? I'm like, what I'm talking about? Like, it's just tell me you're throwing anywhere from 80 to 84. Don't tell me you topped out at 89 because I'll just be honest. Just be honest with us.
Right.
You'll grow.
Right. That's the best thing. In other words, I want parents to take away one thing from today's discussion with Coach Kline, and that is baseball people know baseball players. I'm just telling you, we can agree to disagree with metrics and analytics, but they know what they see when they see it. It's all about how you move, how fluid you are, and how consistent you repeat those movement patterns. So as a parent, as a student athlete, I'm going to have all the information for Indiana University of Pennsylvania and Coach Kline. If you have a question, put it down below in the comments section. I'll make sure Coach Kline gets it. Steve, I want to say thank you because I know you're a busy guy this time of year, and I value everything you do as a coach, everything you've done as a player, but more importantly, the mentor that you are still to this day to my son, Tyler. I appreciate that in a myriad of different ways, over and above and off the baseball field, and I thank you very much for your time here today.
Thank you. And Mr. Beede, one last thing with the metric stuff. People like it, you can do it. It's not like we're not saying you can't do it, but when you get on that field, there is no numbers. You can't go in and look into a computer and tell you. You have to have the feel. You got to understand the grips of the game. Like, you got to know what hitters are really good. Like, okay, who's coming up in the order? Like, there's so much into the baseball side of the chess game that people don't understand. It's not just how hard do I throw. People don't care. Do you think Albert Pujols or Mike Trout really go, oh my God, this guy, the Skeens kid that just got drafted out? You think they're going to go, oh my God, he throws 100? They're going to be like, bring it on. Let me, and that's how, that's like Willie Mays said it very simple. It's me versus you in that batter's box every day. I'm want to kick your butt and you want to kick mine. Let's just get at it and go after each other. And that's what we need to get back to, like the challenge of each other. And it's okay to fail. You're going to lose. I lost a lot, and it made me a better person, but it's also taught me how to be a better pitcher. And just can't accept it.
Amen.
But I appreciate you for having me on here, Mr. Brad. Really appreciate you having me on.
Steve, I cannot thank you enough. And if there's anything I can ever do with you need somebody up here to see somebody, more than happy to do that. I am going to connect you with Coach Shank up at Southern New Hampshire. Tremendous guy. And thank you very much. And I want to let parents know next week we're going to be kind of keeping in the same geographical area. We're going to have Scott Bradley, former big leaguer with the Yankees, now head coach at Princeton University. So be sure and join us next week. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Until next time, enjoy your week in baseball.